41 points for Anthony Edwards last night. Rockets get outscored 35-16 in that fourth quarter. Another game where they have a lead and playing pretty well. Ime talked about their offense falling apart in the fourth quarter. Certainly their defense did too. But you look at the numbers, at least per quarter, 33, 38, 27. Once again, he would tell you, at least up until the fourth quarter, offense was not a problem.
Be happy you got a Chrysler 300. I got it because it looked just like a Phantom. No, it looked like a Chrysler 300. The part is it do look like a Phantom until a Phantom pull up.
And that's what happened last night for the Houston Rockets and any of their fans. The Rockets, for the better part of the season, look like a Phantom. Second seed in the West. You got players on the roster improving, taking big leaps. You got national media talking about how Amen Thompson is untouchable. We had that subject or topic yesterday. And then a Phantom actually pulled up, and his name was Anthony Edwards. The T-Wolves are a different team from the team who made the conference finals last year. They're trying to get it together. We'll see where they land as the season progresses. But you saw a star. The Rockets have an all-star in Alperen Sengun. They have guys with big-time potential. But that was a star performance. That was, you're trying to get in my head. You're trying to agitate me, be physical with me, and I'm going to take over this fourth quarter and bury you. And that's what Anthony Edwards did. So when the Rockets and those rumors come out about the Rockets searching for a star, and there's pushback from fans because they want to keep this young core together. They want this thing to grow. They want their guys to be the guys that win a title, not somebody you acquire because you're trading young talent away. Now, Anthony Edwards, of course, is like 23 himself. But that is why if you hear talk of the Rockets wanting to acquire a star, these are the scenarios that they're talking about. And this was just a regular season game. The Rockets have had their issues in the fourth quarter. We'll hear from Ime Udoka about that. It's now a trend at this point. But to take over a game like that, to become this unstoppable force that not only is scoring, but is decimating a defense because they have to put two on the ball. They have to try things to get the ball out of his hand, and it compromises the rest of their defense because the Wolves are playing 4-on-3 the rest of the way. This is what they want. This is what the Rockets want. And as good as you feel about Amen and his projection and what he might be, and being so happy when Jalen Green has his month of March from last year and the first half of January this year, no comparison to what we saw last night. That was a star being a star, understanding that he was going to have to take his team home and responding to a lot of what the Rockets were doing to him physically. And Anthony Edwards talked about the Dillon Brooks stuff after the game. Jason Tate got into it with the Wolves. The Rockets, in the midst of a 4-game losing streak, now 5, wanted to get back to what their identity is. That's being physical, that's being nasty, that's bothering the opponent. Anthony Edwards noticed it, and this is what he had to say after the game.
I love the competing part, but like all the little slick, little dirty shit. Like he hit me in the face, and then I fell, and then he like, how much crying you gonna do? I'm like, bro, you hit me in my face. What you want me to do? So, you know, I just don't like that part. Like, don't do something and then act like you didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? But I love all the competitiveness. Like, we can compete all day, we can talk all day, but when you get to doing that, yeah, it's more than basketball at that point.
That seemed to be like, I haven't seen you react that strongly.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, because like, I think a couple years ago when he was with Memphis, he did the same thing, and I reacted the same way. Like, I don't mind you competing and grabbing and pushing and doing all that. Like, I love that because I'm gonna do that back. But the moment you start like using your fists and now it's like, all right, bro, like you feel me? Like, we all grown men out here, we ain't finna do that. And, you know, he think he got like a reputation of punking people. So.
It seemed like your guys collectively really responded.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone stepped up.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the competing part is perfect. Like everything, I love to watch him play. Everything that he do out there for his team is perfect, but sometimes he get a little too carried away. You know what I'm saying?
41 points for Anthony Edwards last night. Rockets get outscored 35-16 in that fourth quarter. Another game where they have a lead and playing pretty well. Ime talked about their offense falling apart in the fourth quarter. Certainly their defense did too. But you look at the numbers, at least per quarter, 33, 38, 27. Once again, he would tell you, at least up until the fourth quarter, offense was not a problem. They were able to score. But the fourth quarter problems continue. And the Rockets and the fan base will have to accept these are the wages of having a young team. You're going to have issues like this. And, this is the first extended losing streak of the year. So we won't say that this is a full-on regression to the mean and maybe they have been playing above their heads. I think I need to see more games before I come to that conclusion. But a losing streak was going to happen at some point. It wasn't going to be clear sailing. I mean, the worst thing that happened to the Rockets up until this 5-game winning streak was guys being out, like Jabari being out and Tari missing time. But they were still winning basketball games. The stretch of games we talked about it being tough, and they overcame that early. They weren't having problems because they were the coin that was on their side, flipping to their side, winning close games. Now it's gone the other way. And the fourth quarters have been a giant problem where they've self-destructed. What are the issues? Is it simply about being young? Do you need Fred VanVleet to be back? He was part, at least early, of the self-destruction. Now he's been out for a little while and things haven't gotten any better. So maybe the thoughts of, hey, this team doesn't need Fred VanVleet are overblown. I would say they don't need him at $40+ million a year, but they very well may need him. And maybe that's why an extension was reported as likely after the season is over. So 5 in a row. They're now in a spot where they'd be playing the surging Lakers in the first round. A Lakers team who jumped out to a giant lead against the Warriors yesterday, held them off. The Warriors decimated roster right now because they don't have Jimmy Butler. He made his Warriors debut as far as speaking. He was sitting next to Mike Dunleavy. You forget that Mike Dunleavy Jr. is the GM of that team. But he's there, and they sat next to each other, and Butler talked about getting his joy back, a reference to saying he didn't have his joy when he was with the Heat. So he won't make an appearance, I think, until tomorrow. That'll be the first time he plays. Luka didn't play last night. Mark Williams didn't play, the two Lakers acquisitions. But that's who you're looking at right now. Because of the losing streak, you're no longer the 2 or the 3. If the season ended today, it'd be Lakers, Rockets, and you'd be seeing Luka and LeBron. And as I said it in that tone, it doesn't matter what it is today. But as far as the standings, but Brian Windhorst said something that I'm not surprised by. He said that the teams who made moves, like the Mavericks and the Lakers and the Warriors, aren't concerned about the top of the West. They're not afraid of the top of the West, whether it be Memphis, the Rockets, and the Thunder. I would say be a little afraid of the Thunder. They're pretty good, and they're going to get Chet back. You might want to be afraid of them, but the top of the West right now doesn't concern the teams in the bottom part of the bracket, and maybe that has a lot to do with how veteran those teams are. Like those teams are older. They're going to put off a vibe of we're good. Our age, experience, championship DNA will get us by. I don't know if I buy it with the Warriors. We'll see what Jimmy Butler provides. But no matter who the Rockets play, at this point, they're going to definitely have the inexperience disadvantage. And we'll see if their youth and athleticism helps. But playing in a half court in close games, not great for them.
No, especially when the other team, again, has one of those. Yeah. And you don't. And Ime Udoka gave voice to that after the game.
I tried to find the sound. I couldn't. But, yeah, the quote is, it's pretty cool. Yeah. When you have a guy like that who can just go get a bucket in the fourth quarter, that's great, ain't it?
Yeah, and, that's on the Rockets All-Star, Alperen Şengün. That's on Rockets All-Star for the first 15 days of January. Jalen Green.
Not just All-Star. We're talking about All-NBA. First-team All-NBA.
I mean, if he shot 60% from 3 for the entire year, like, what are we talking about?
Mm-hmm. Here's the official quote. It's nice to have a special player that gets buckets at the end.
Yeah.
It is nice.
You know what, Coach Udoka?
Dead on.
You're right. Rockets just don't have one of those guys, and that's why people are every time that there's any smoke signal that any star player, not just the Phoenix guys, but if when it comes to Giannis, when it comes to De'Aaron Fox, when it comes to any of these guys, Jimmy Butler, people were, hey, sure, the Rockets do need an upgrade with this specific type of player, and it's a guy late who can take over the game. Anthony Edwards, second night of a back-to-back, 49 in night 1, 41 to win in night 2. That's what you're going to need in the playoffs to get it done. And right now the Rockets don't have that. Until they do, that's kind of why I've quietly, when people are like, what's the ceiling for this year's Rockets? Could they make the West Finals? I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Let's win a playoff series and then talk.
That question when they were beating the Celtics and the Cavs came up, and people were like, why not us? Well, this is why not you. This is like that was a nice stretch, but over the course of a season and really a playoff series, any of your flaws are going to come out, and we got to be honest. The Rockets, you want to throw in experience, fine. You want to throw in youthful athletic ability, all the things that combine to make them what they are. They're not built to go on a deep run. Not right now. They don't execute well enough in a half court, and these fourth quarters are proving that their defense falls apart too for whatever reason.
Yeah, we have to remember that there's steps to this.
Yes,
and
NBA history says you're going to get beat early, and you learn from it and get better from it.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Boston Celtics. Like the Boston Celtics in 2018 with a rookie Jason Tatum were in the Western Conference Finals with
Eastern
Conference
that was a
Finals
bad East.
and a bad East with Kyrie Irving, Al Horford, all those guys. They didn't make the actual finals until 2022.
Yes, it took.
So that's 4 years, and they are starting in the conference finals.
And it took them playoff losses, firing a coach.
Yes.
Oh no, actually, Brad Stevens stepping down, Ime getting fired because, and they made the finals with Ime the year, and obviously they didn't win the title until the next year with Ime in Houston and they had Joe Mazzulla. So even them, where they were young and they hit early, it took nearly 7 seasons or so to make the finals and win it.
And so that's why I get the impatience. I get because we're watching every night the same thing happen. And it is a kind of a testament to them that they are this good, and they have a giant weakness, which is late game execution. Just full stop. Not even offensive, not even defensive at this point. I think we can just say
both ends of the floor.
Late game execution, that they are still exceeding any reasonable person's expectations in the preseason. Like, they're still better than that. Like you said, there'd be the 4 or the 5 seed today. We both felt optimistic by saying, maybe they could get the 6 seed.
Yeah.
But most likely playing. And right now, they're still ahead of that pace. Now, they're slowly, or not slowly.
Not that slowly,
quickly.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Going back to that, I still think that this is, like you said, the rut of their season. This is the rough patch of their season. So just like we said earlier with the wins against Boston, wins against Cleveland, where you don't want to get too high on this team, I would also say, like, the 5-game losing streak, you don't want to get too low on this team.
I would agree. It is a losing streak. A young team's going through it. They have guys in and out of the lineup. This is the time. Now, the hope for people, because they were unaware of how many games they had left, was, hey, let's just get to the All-Star break. Well, you still got a while to go. You're going into Dallas. That's your next game after a day off today. And you'll likely see Anthony Davis in that one. That'll likely, I don't say likely. I don't know if you will see Anthony Davis. The Mavs didn't need him last night. They went into Boston and kicked the Celtics' ass. That game looks closer than it actually appeared. It appears closer than it actually was because the Celtics benched all their starters, and their bench players put a bit of a scare into the Mavs. But they controlled that game throughout. When Tatum and Brown left, Drew Holiday didn't play, but when Tatum, Brown, Porzingis walked off the floor, I think it was like 17, 18 points they were down, and Mazzulla just said, all right, we're calling you guys back. Let's see what these young guys and inexperienced guys have. And they made a run, but not enough. So I don't even know. I don't know who's going to play for the Mavs because Caleb Martin's injured, who they acquired. So it might be the same guys we saw last night going to Boston and get a win.
Yesterday, Mark Stein reported that the expectation is that Anthony Davis will make his debut Saturday against
Okay,
the Rockets.
so Anthony Davis back from not just being traded, but he was also injured before the trade. So if he's going to be back, you'll see Dallas almost at full strength. Caleb Martin might be out a little bit more. But another tough test on the road, except maybe it'll be so miserable in that building that you will have the advantage because the talk was that the Mavs were actually a little fearful of bringing their guys back and were actually glad they're on the road because of the reaction to the Luka trade. Well, winning basketball games cure some of it. It won't cure all of it. All of it. And the first edition of this new look Mavs is going to be against the Houston Rockets.